Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I am Representative Gary Hopper, and to my left, that isn't like, it doesn't mean anything, it's just physically to my left, not necessarily like he's left leaning.
Yeah, watch what
Are you
say.
leaning?
I'm not leaning.
You're leaning,
anywhere.
but you're not left leaning.
Lean
Josh Solomon.
How you doing?
And today, with us today up at the State House, we had Sir John of Burt, the representative from Goffstown. And today we got a couple special guests. We got Jesse and Jelani, who were outside of the USA Chicken, chilling in the hood. And is that, can you say chilling in the hood anymore? Is that still cool? Or am I lost in the generational chasm? Is it okay? Does anybody say that anymore?
Sometimes.
If Gary wanted to be cool to his grandkids, what would he say?
Yeah.
Help Gary be cool. Because
you got a lot of work.
Yeah, there must be some sayings today that, us old guys don't know.
Oh.
There's a lot.
There's a lot, yeah. But anyway, these guys are hanging out, and they asked Mr. Representative Burt what he was doing, why he's got badges.
Yep.
And so we thought to invite him on the show and ask us questions. Go ahead. You got the show for now.
What's your show about?
The show's about basically politics mostly, talking to people, because if you read the paper and you watch the news, you're going to get a distorted view of what's really going on. We in the legislature, we'll go into the legislature, we'll see something happen on the House floor or see how a vote went, and then come home and watch it on the news and go, that's not what happened. So we have this show so people can at least hear a different side of things. So we do a political show. We do a lot. We haven't done it since Josh has been here, but I tend to do a lot with the heroin epidemic and stuff like that, the fentanyl stuff, because there's a lot of kids that are not much older than you dying on the street. A friend of mine's, I think it's a friend of mine or a friend of a friend, just had a funeral for a 22-year-old girl, beautiful girl.
Wow. Done.
It's horrible. So we do stuff like that, public service and politics.
What's going on with I don't remember his name, but he had a secret about Trump, something like that.
Epstein?
I think so.
Oh, Epstein didn't have a secret about Trump. Epstein was a billionaire. No, I don't think there's too many people that can even figure out where he got his money. And he seemed to be very well connected. And what he would do is take very, very wealthy, powerful people on trips to his island where they had underage girls that were basically forced into prostitution. And he had a lot of secrets, and actually Trump is one of the few ones that I think is not suspected.
Yes.
Actually, there's a few people from England, there was a
lot of movie stars.
A lot of movie stars.
Governor of New Mexico.
Governor of New Mexico.
George Mitchell in Maine.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not far from home.
George Mitchell got rolled up into the flight logs of that. He had an airplane that he would fly everybody down there on, and the airplane is required to have logs of who actually was on the plane at the time. It's a federal aviation law, and I think where you're getting your story from about Trump is that Trump borrowed his plane one time, but didn't actually go to the island. Trump is a billionaire. He hangs out with other billionaires, just like legislators hang out with other legislators. And he needed a plane, and he borrowed a plane. And years later, Trump found out that this man had a not so wonderful business going on, and Trump cut off all communication with him. On the other hand, we look at the flight logs. Trump's name appears once back in the 90s, but we also see that Bill Clinton's name shows up 26 times. So and that's part of the distortion. You had this image in your head that Trump was somehow connected to Epstein, when in fact there was this very minor relationship that he had with a another billionaire, and that got blown way out of proportion. Whereas there are other folks like, I can't remember his name, the governor in Mexico.
Some guy.
And then George Mitchell, and all of these other folks who are much higher
Clooney,
profile.
right? Wasn't Clooney on their list?
Probably.
So anyway, we're here to set that record straight too.
So that's a wicked good example of what it's very important to be as young guys is to use your critical thinking, because what happened was, and they do this a lot. They did this past weekend. They'll come out with a story, not even knowing whether or not it's true, but what they try to do is they come out with a headline, and I think the headline you're referring to is Trump's friend Jeff Epstein caught in, and then they go into the article. Okay, Trump had actually kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago in 2009 because he found out he was hitting on a young girl. And Trump was the one who actually cooperated with the police when they were trying to prosecute him. So the one person in the whole list that really isn't involved is Trump. But that headline, they use that headline to put that image in your head that Trump had some affiliation with a pedophile. Okay, this past weekend, you would have, the New York Times ran a story that Brett Kavanaugh, a new accuser came out saying that Brett Kavanaugh did something, I'm not even going to say it on the air, but something terrible to this girl. They left out the part, so now the image goes out in your head, you pick it up, Brett Kavanaugh, United States Supreme Court Justice, messed around with this young girl and abused her. That's the image you get in your head. What you don't get in your head is the follow-up stories where the woman in question has no recollection of it. She does not remember it even happening. Okay, so they ran the story. It's propaganda. The Soviets used it for many years of way to convince the public of certain things, even though they're not true. Have you guys are in school. Have they told you to read the book 1984 yet?
No.
How about Animal Farm?
Nope.
You're old enough and smart enough. You really should read 1984 by George Orwell. Because once you read that, you go, wow. You realize how, it's a fictitious story, but you realize how governments, and right now you have ingrained government officials, Democrat and Republican, in cahoots with the media, trying to undermine Donald Trump. But anyway, you got other questions? You were asking about the Second Amendment.
Yeah, why do we have it?
Okay, so the Second Amendment, one of the coolest things that ever happened in this country was King George was coming over and he wanted to subdue they weren't even Americans then, right? They were English subjects. We were all English subjects in the Americas, the 13 colonies. We were basically English. But we were getting uppity. So he was coming to take our guns. You know Paul Revere? Paul Revere came, and there's one if by two, or two if by sea, or whatever.
One if by land, two if by sea.
You're familiar with that story? Where Paul Revere came and warned everybody that the British were coming?
I feel like I've heard it.
Yeah, you've heard that before. Well, actually, what they tend to leave out is, you know what they were coming for? They were coming to take the colonists' guns.
Isn't today an anniversary of
Constitution, I think, right?
Of one of those events?
Yeah. And so, anytime you want to control a population, one of the first things you have to do is take away their ability to defend themselves, right? Like, in other words, if you look at Germany, you've studied Germany in school, the reason the German Adolf Hitler could kill 6 million Jews is because he'd already taken their guns away. The reason Stalin could kill millions of his own people in Russia was because they had already taken all the guns away. The reason Mao Zedong could kill millions of his people, I forget it was like 100 million people or 70 million people in China was because they did not have a right to defend themselves. So to control a population, you need to be able to do two things. You need to control speech, but before you can control speech completely, you got to control the guns. And the reason we have the Second Amendment right, I'll give you an example. Say Josh has a gun. Who's in control of this room right now? Josh is. He's got the gun. What if you have guns? Who's in control now?
We would be in control.
Well, no, you would be on an equal footing, but you wouldn't be in control.
Oh, because Josh still has his
Because
gun.
Josh still has his gun.
That's
right?
true.
So
we're equal.
Because now we're equal. So you're not. We can't force you to do anything because you can defend yourself. That's what the Second Amendment is all about. It's about the citizens being in control of the government, not the government being in control of the citizens. And that's why you have it. That's what the founding fathers of this country fought for.
It is in place specifically so that the people have the ability to rebel against
There's a phone.
an oppressive government. Hello, you're on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who is this?
Hi, my name is Trevor.
Hi, Trevor. How you doing?
Is that one of your accomplices? Hi, Trevor. What's up?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just watching the show.
Yeah.
And, I agree. I do think that the Second Amendment is for guns, and I think that it's a good idea to have guns in this country.
Thanks, Trevor. Is that it?
You're welcome. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was in support of everything that's going on here.
Hey, thanks, Trevor.
All right,
You have a
we
good
really
night.
Appreciate it.
All right, you too.
So, but that's why we have the Second Amendment. If you guys lose that, let me ask you: do you have any idea what happens to countries that lose their Second Amendment rights?
Wars, probably. I don't know.
No, like Venezuela, they gave up all their rights in 2012. Now they're eating out of garbage cans because the government is living high off the hog. They're going to eat, but the people they don't like,
They're starving.
they're starving down there.
They're actually shooting. There's actually police forces that are just killing civilians right now. Oh yeah. Well, see, first they said, because you got to understand, Venezuela is a really good example.
Very rich.
It had all kinds of money. They had some of the richest oil fields in the entire world, right? So the government said, well, what we really need to do to help us out is go to which socialism, where the government controls everything, where the government controls healthcare, they control manufacturing, they control everything.
Like what Bernie Sanders wants.
Which Bernie Sanders wants, okay? So they started controlling it. I'm trying to... Oh, I'll give you this example. So you're going... Jeez. We got to have young people more often.
Yeah.
Hello, you're on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, bud?
Who is this?
We're gonna fuck her right in her pussy.
All right.
I
That
hope
was
they...
a-
yeah.
That was a good
Well, I
call.
guess we'll hold off on calls for a few minutes.
Don't worry, you didn't get through.
Good, thanks. So, you're in school, right? The teacher says, you get through the first quarter. You go quarters or whatever. You go to quarter. You do quarters in high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you go through the first quarter. You've worked your butt off and you get an A. He's sat home and played video games all weekend, every weekend, and he gets an F. Okay? Nothing personal.
Or walks around in the halls.
You walked around the halls. Okay, so he's getting an F. But your teacher says, we're going to practice socialism in this class. And what we're going to do is we're going to take all the grades of all the kids and we're going to average them out. So now you get a B and he gets a B, right? Because it's evenly distributed. Everybody worked for such and such, and now we're going to evenly distribute it. What happens the next quarter? How hard are you willing to work for that A that you know is going to end up being a B or a C?
You want to work harder.
Huh?
You would want to work harder to get it up.
You can't.
Well,
It's going to be averaged out.
If it's always averaged out, the people who don't work don't have to do anything, and they still get a B. But you work your butt off for an A, but you're still going to get a B.
So you're going to work less because you're going, why would I work hard?
So eventually what happens is the next semester comes around, you didn't work quite as hard, you still kind of want to do good because you like doing good, but you didn't work quite as hard, you didn't do all the extra credit stuff, and you say you got a B, but that's averaged out. He still played video games, and what'd you do, go in the halls? Is that what? It's the confessions of children, it's great. So now he still would have gotten an F, you would have gotten a B, but the other kids that used to get A's aren't working that hard either. And the kids that were getting F's going, this is the greatest thing ever. Now you get the whole class gets a C, right? Because you average it out. By the end of the year, everybody's getting F's. And that's what happens in socialism, because no matter how hard you work, you don't benefit from it. So people, if they can't benefit from working hard, they don't care. So what happened in Venezuela is the same thing. Eventually people stopped working hard. Government can't run a business, so the business was starting to fail, and eventually the economy just crashed, and then they took away the guns because they realized they were losing control, and the people in Venezuela, like he said, some of them are eating out of garbage cans. One of the richest countries in the Americas is now people are eating out of garbage cans because of policy. You get it? Did I make that clear? It's all super cool. You guys know, how old do you have to be a state rep? 18?
18.
So in a few years, if you want to become a state rep and actually go up, because what we do as legislators is today there were some gun laws that were coming through. They wanted to, what's a good one?
You know, like expand the background checks, which we already do, so we don't need it.
Okay, yeah, so expand background checks. The Democrats had a bill that would expand background checks. Right now, if you were like old enough, I don't know what the age is, 18 or whatever,
yeah.
right? And you two both had like let's call you each 21 now. You're each 21, and you collected a couple of guns. He's collected a gun. And you want to trade, because he's got a 22 you want, and he's got a 357 you want. So you want to trade, and you guys know each other, and you know you're not felons. You haven't done anything wicked stupid yet. So that trade, you would have to go to the government to make. You would have to go to a licensed dealer and trade that way. Right? The current law is, if you're selling a gun to a friend, you can do it. As long as you know that friend isn't a felon or something. If you knew he's a felon, you can't. But if it's a friend and you want to make a trade, you can. If that bill had gone through, you no longer could. So it was taking the rights of people.
So we killed it today.
It would also be between family members. I mean, what
Yeah.
happens if...
I thought they had an exception for that. Did they have an exception?
They did have an exception,
they did.
but I think deep down in the bill, they may have exempt that out.
Yeah.
So
That was kind of sketchy,
it
though.
was.
Yeah, because that becomes a problem if a family member dies and they've got, even a single firearm that another family member just takes possession of. It's over, right? You're automatically a criminal because your father died.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, so there was 3 different gun bills that...
4, yeah.
4 different gun bills that we were able to keep from becoming law today. And it's because like you're young, so the more you get interested and the more active you get and the more you start understanding how important this stuff is, by the time you're 18, if you know what you're doing, you can run for office. Do you know how to run for office? You sign up for $2 and then you put signs out. You get your friends to go hang signs out for you and you run for office. Then you can, because we've had, I forget the youngest person I've served with up there. I think they were like 19.
No, 18. Kyle.
Kyle?
Kyle Jones. And
Kyle
his mother,
Jones.
Laura Jones.
Oh, yeah.
18, then his mother was there. They sat
So
side by
you
side.
you guys can get involved. It's your country. I'm going to be dead in a few years. You guys will be just getting up to speed. So look into it. Read 1984. If you want to scare the heck out of yourself, you think the stupid scary movies like Friday the 13th are scary. That's nothing. Read 1984. It will shock you and scare you into being always vigilant to protect and defend your rights, because once they're gone, they're always gone. You'll never get them back. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the show. It was fun talking to you. You have a good night. I got to remember, Jesse and Joel Jelani, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Have a good day, you guys.
You too.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened today, Mr. Burt?
Well, we had a lot of fun.
Oh, tell them about. Oh, so we had today for at the State House's veto day.
Yes.
We had 28 and 28 vetoes today.
Might have been 30 something.
Really?
Maybe
Wow.
27 or 30, because
Yeah.
the Senate has
Chris has been
7.
busy.
Oh yeah.
7 or
Very
8.
busy, yeah. So okay, so the star of the day was Ralph Boehm.
Yes.
Right, Ralph Boehm. There was a bill, and my chairwoman was up there supporting it. It was a bill to, right now under the current Constitution, it is the legislature that redistricts itself.
Yes.
The legislature gets together, they have a redistricting committee, and they divvy up and figure out how many, and New Hampshire is very difficult because there's so many seats. So they wanted to have that job done by an independent panel,
Yes.
right? Which is ridiculous, because they think because it's an independent panel, it will be nonpartisan. But
No.
who's appointing the panel?
Yeah.
The partisan people.
Yep.
So partisan. So
Right.
somehow they thought that because it wasn't in the legislature, it wouldn't be partisan, which is
Right.
just
I can see the independent panel being chosen by a Democrat-run legislature
right,
Yeah.
right,
with simple majority.
yeah.
And that means that every single person on the independent panel will be leaning towards the majority of the legislator,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, I'm not sure
And
you're
when-
exactly correct, but yes,
But,
basically,
and,
yeah.
and when does the panel get reassigned? Each time the legislature comes in,
Yep.
right? So that will always skew.
So basically, they were
the
trying
very
to.
next election and districts would be skewed
Yeah.
towards whoever is in power the very first time that panel is assigned.
Well, the
I can
Democrats
see that
basically
happening.
wanted to give their constitutional rights away. Because the Constitution says we have to do it. The
Right.
representatives do it. They wanted to give that away because whatever reason. And then they would still get to vote on what the commission said. So that's where they thought it was legal, but it's not.
So anyway, Representative Smith got up and said that this would be an independent panel, and so therefore the results would be, wonderful, and everybody would love each other, and we could hug each other and say kumbaya. And he said because if the Democrats or Republicans are in charge, they'll gerrymander, and it will make it so that if the Republicans are in charge, basically her implication was that Democrats would never get elected again.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so Ralph Boehm gets up, state rep, and said, well, the Republicans are the one who redistricted last time, and you guys just won the majority, so therefore it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which was pretty
Simple,
great.
step-by-step logical conclusions are very hard to come by in
Oh,
a
but-
liberal mind.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to have decorum, and everybody's supposed to, be,
Well, you can't say crazy anymore on the House
oh
floor.
no, that was, you got away with it.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I said crazy and the place melted down and I'm going, am I
Are you
wrong?
We can't say crazy on the air, can we?
Yeah.
I think we can say crazy.
And
on
even
here.
the,
Today.
even the speaker, he didn't, say, Representative Burt was absolutely right, but he just expressed how, for somebody to go into a school and shoot the place up, they're definitely mentally ill. And is Representative Burt wrong on his words? Basically, is what he said.
Oh yeah, because you called him crazy.
Yeah, I said crazy instead of mentally ill.
And can you imagine that being somebody's offended because he's calling people that go shoot up schools crazy?
Well, and they said I hurt feelings. Representative Horrigan said that that I upsetted people by saying the word crazy.
Well, that's maybe because they wanted to shoot up
This is
schools.
something that is happening not just here, but all over. Everybody says, well, you're hurting people's feelings.
Well, it's to stifle free
that's
speech.
That's the line that they use.
Yes.
But has anyone ever said, well, you're hurting their feelings or their feelings? Has a name come out? Whose feelings are being hurt?
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
By this.
Well, because that's actually the problem, is because first of all, my rights don't discontinue where your feelings start.
What?
absolutely.
Whoa,
Absolutely.
yeah.
The other thing too is
What show is this?
yeah,
I'm on the wrong show.
I know, I know.
I thought this was the 7 o'clock show.
I know you really. No, you're not in your safe space.
Okay.
So, but the thing is, it depends on whose feelings. Like if you currently, if you insult Christians or white men, they're fair game.
Yes, white.
It's okay to hurt my feelings.
Yes, white males
You have
are.
Yeah.
We're targets.
Sometimes.
When did you have those?
Sometimes.
I
Sometimes.
didn't know
Don't
you
tell
had-
my wife.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure she doesn't know. So anyway, so crazy was the thing. Tell them about. Oh, so let's go through the important bills, the gun bills. See what
Yes.
happened with them.
Well, there was the backgrounds.
109.
109. That's dead. That was just going to require backgrounds, which we already do.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So the genesis of the background check thing was the thing that you hear in the media. Like we were telling these young kids, you hear something in the media, you get that headline in your head, and you think it's true, and you move on with your life. And what you've heard in the media is we got to stop the gun show loophole.
Yeah.
The gun show loophole. Tell them about the gun show
that
loophole.
Gun show loophole phrase has been around for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Yeah. The gun show loophole supposedly says that you can walk into a gun show, you can buy a gun without a background check. And it's absolutely not true.
No. See, I've tried that, and it didn't work.
Well, several liberal reporters down south have tried it.
Yes.
One of them actually got refused
Yeah. And
because of a domestic violence conviction that he had a couple years before.
because of a background check.
And he blamed it on the vendor because he had told the vendor what he was doing. The vendor says, it's not up to me. I got the background check and you don't qualify, period.
yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I posted this the other day with the gun show earlier in the month in Concord, and I posted, says, hey, there's a gun show in Concord. I said, I dare any of my liberal friends to try to go in and buy a gun without a background check.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
Yeah.
Those are all licensed dealers. They'd lose their license if they got caught doing that.
Yeah.
That's just stupid.
But
Yeah.
it's as you explained earlier, it's one of those headlines. It's a phrase that is meant to stick in our heads
Yep.
and scare us.
Well, if you say it
That's exactly
enough,
what it
if
is.
you say
Exactly.
it enough, it'll be true.
And that's a phrase that has been said enough that a lot of people but we're making some headway on reversing the impact of that particular phrase.
Yeah, it takes
Gun show loophole.
Yeah, the media lying to you takes about, 10 minutes. Trying to undo the lie can take years.
Yes.
It's-
Now, the other one was House Bill 514 imposing a wait-in period between the purchase of delivery of a firearm. So it was a 2 to 5 day wait-in period, because if it was on a weekend, or even 6 days if it was on a holiday, you'd have to wait. They don't count those days. It's 5 business days that you have to wait 3. And then if it went into a weekend, you have to wait those extra days. That failed terribly. It went down because Governor Sununu says, New Hampshire is one of the and I said it on the House floor.
You said that every time you get up.
Yeah, and one time all the reps cheered, and of course the Democrats, they booed.
Got booed at him.
They booed at me when I said New Hampshire is the safest state in the country, and we're safer than Canada.
Right.
And they booed me, and I'm like,
Yep.
are you serious?
No,
You're
I saw
booing
that
me?
number. I saw that number earlier this week. Did I see it from you?
Yeah.
The number of gun-related homicides in New Hampshire in 1 year is fewer than Canada
Yes.
in how many years?
Yeah.
The entire country.
Yeah, the entire country.
Yeah.
We're
so,
better than they
yeah,
are.
I don't know, I know very few people who don't either own firearms or hunt or, it's
No.
who we are as a state.
One thing that disturbed me was the vote was virtually 216, 217 to 164, 163 every time. So that means there's 216 or 217, depending on the vote, people that want to take our guns.
That are in the legislature.
Yes, that are
People
in.
who want to reverse the Second Amendment
Yep.
and take our rights away.
Yep.
Democrats, there's like 4 Democrats that sided on with us on the Second Amendment.
Yes, there were
I know
several
it was
Democrats.
Jeff Goley has to be one of them, right?
Yeah, I would imagine Jeff's usually pretty good. I think he's a local fireman.
So
here.
those people in Manchester, one of your state reps is Jeff Goley. He is a Democrat. I hate him for it, but no, he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah, he is. A good
But
guy.
anyway, he's really good on the Second
Yeah.
Amendment. I just want when we say all it's not all Democrats, but it is the most of them.
Now, the one where I got booed big time
Oh gosh.
was.
Wait. Were your feelings hurt?
Did it hurt your feelings to be booed?
Do I have to be honest?
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed. I was like, sweet. I'm being booed. So apparently I was saying something
I
right.
must be done something
yeah,
right.
yeah. I think I earned my $100 today.
Yeah.
It's House Bill 564 relative to possessing a firearm on school property. Right now, we are one of the very few states that allow guns. If you have a concealed carry license from your local police or selectman, you can carry on school property because that's the federal law.
Okay.
And I personally know teachers. I know probably a dozen of them have called me and said, make sure this bill dies because we carry to protect our children. And when I said that, I got a bunch of boos. Well, I'm sorry, but because like Parkland, Florida.
Yep.
They had a commission, and when they got done with the commission, they said, okay, we need more money. That's always the number one thing. They
Right.
need more money. Money's not going to help. And, seeing dead children and dead teachers, the blood all over the place, boy, it was an awful mess to clean up. Maybe we better arm our teachers because the
Parkland's
police...
a great example.
Well, the
'Cause
police, they stayed
didn't
outside.
do anything. They didn't go into
they
the
heard-
I thought that was sheriff department.
It was sheriff. Well,
Yeah.
police are sheriffs.
Okay.
They stayed outside as they heard the
And
kids
there's-
screaming.
There's security video footage of him standing by the door, not going in.
Well, there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 officers refused to go in. They're like, I'm not going in there. That's a war zone.
And there's been several rulings, Supreme Court rulings, state rulings, that
Yes.
are very specific that the police have no duty
Nope.
to protect or serve. They're not required to do anything unless you're already in their custody.
Yep. They do not have
They
to.
have no.
Yep.
So
They do not have to come to my house
they
if I
love
called
to
them.
tout the protect and serve line, but
Yep.
they have no duty to do so.
No. And now, I always say, I would hope, and I'm assuming I am correct, that our police here would do
Oh,
the right
absolutely.
thing and dart right into a school if we ever had a school shooting,
And
which New
the
Hampshire's
majority
never
of the
had.
police officers that I know
Yeah.
and am familiar with would do exactly that.
Yes. We're one of
Um,
8 states that have
so-
never had a school shooting.
Right.
And I want to keep it that way. And by making sure the crazy nuts out in this society understand we have teachers carrying guns and they're not going to put up with it. They're going to protect
Well, the
those
thing
kids.
is one of the true balances of power is not knowing who does or doesn't have guns.
That's right.
Like, for instance, one of these most of these school shooters are nuts, but they also want to survive long enough to make their mark on society. So you don't have to have any teachers in a school have guns. They don't. You don't need that. What you need is the person who might be thinking of shooting, not knowing who does or doesn't have guns.
Yeah.
As soon as you put that label to say, nope, you can't have any guns. I don't care if you're a teacher or you have a pistol permit. We don't care. You cannot have any guns in this building. Well, then they know it's safe to go in there and shoot.
Well, you know, the other thing too is they say, well, why don't we have a policeman? Okay, well, Goffstown has a policeman.
Yeah.
And guess what Columbine had? One of the first mass shootings, or most publicized mass shootings of schools. They had 2 officers on the left or right side of the building. The perpetrators, the students, knew we're coming in on this side and we're going to blast this side
That's
up.
exactly that. There are those shootings that occur, you know, somewhat off the cuff, but a majority of these, the ones that have caused the most human casualties, such as Parkland and Columbine, the ones that cause the most casualties are those who planned it.
That's right. Yes.
They knew exactly where the people with guns were,
Yep.
and they either avoided it or made an attempt to get rid of it. You know, in the case of Columbine, they had pipe bombs and they were locking doors,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, if you know, that there's 2 police officers in this school, and at this time of day they're having their coffee over here, or they're checking, students coming in off the bus over here, they know exactly what their schedule is, right? As opposed to, if we don't know how many people in this building, how many adults, responsible adults, actually do have a pistol under their jacket, then that's a deterrent.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you make your move, you can be dead before you pull the trigger.
Well, State Rep Jody McNally's in my committee, and she was a teacher her whole life. And she said she had a locked box inside her drawer of her desk with a gun in it all her career. And she said, John, I was not the only one.
Yep.
She said, we knew that if it ever happened, we're going to protect those children. Because most, in my eyes, the crazies, if I am allowed to say that on public TV.
Not on this show. We're pretty
Oh.
we're pretty woke.
Yeah.
Oh, I should have used that expression in front of the kids.
Yes.
Dang it. That's the only one I know.
But they are cowards. They're crazy. They're mentally ill. They need help. Anybody that go into a school or anywhere is to shoot up people. But they're cowards. They have any opposition, they're going to be like, mama.
Yeah.
They want to
Well,
hide.
it's just like that fellow who tried to go into Walmart the week after that last one. And he's standing out in the parking lot. As soon as he was confronted, he gave up.
Yeah.
His plan was up. He didn't get the jump on anybody.
Yeah.
And that's...
Oh, I thought you meant the one that was open carrying. I'm sorry. After the school shooting, there was another Walmart shooting. There was a guy that was I'm gonna practice my Second Amendment right. So he arms up, open carries, which I open carry all the time.
Yeah,
I've been
there
to
was
Target.
another fella who
I've been to a bunch of stores
who
and
was
nobody
walking
cares.
in with an AR-15.
Yeah.
He had he was ready
Yeah.
to go, but
Yeah, so he walks in and the Walmart melts down and calls the police, and the police melts down because they just got shot up, and I'm like, all right, you have a right to carry, but don't be stupid.
Yeah, well, I believe in the Second Amendment. People have the right to bear arms, but some people shouldn't be allowed to own toasters.
well, doing it
You know what I'm saying?
doing it
It's just
specifically
not-
to antagonize is different from educating yourself, training yourself,
Yeah.
and
It
just
was
going
like
about
a
your
few years
business.
ago. There was some people who wanted to, to prove a point by open carrying, and they walked into a Chipotle. Each of them had AR-15s over their shoulder, and it was like, really? And then Chipotle, I think they made that thing about you can't have firearms. And
They're
it was just like, well, they are, but it was because somebody had to push the envelope,
Yeah.
or they wouldn't have probably addressed it.
Well, I know Wild Wings. I went up to the door and they came out and they're like, "You can come in." I said, "I understand that you don't allow, law-abiding citizens to carry firearms." Well, that's a corporate. They're down in the New Hampshire Mall. That's a corporate decision. I said, "Well, this is New Hampshire." So, I just want to make sure that it's in place here because I'm not coming in because I am legally, lawfully, and I always carrying. I'll just go over to Olive Garden that doesn't care. And they said, well, it's a corporate decision. I said, well, all right. I've never been there. just like Starbucks. I'll never go in there or Chipotle.
Well, I wouldn't go in there anyway.
haven't
Well,
been-
that's true.
I haven't been to this
who
one.
would drink their coffee?
I haven't been to this one at this mall, but I've been to Buffalo Wild Wings once or twice, and that was enough.
Oh,
I'm not thrilled with the place,
yeah,
so.
I do like Olive Garden.
I
You
do
got to
too.
do that sometime after the legislature.
Yes.
I love Olive Garden.
You can't have an Italian restaurant and not let Italians in, right? I mean,
Oh, whoa, Josh!
that was a
What? Oh,
that was a
gee,
mafia
I
joke.
know what it was. Man.
Now, the last bill
But I didn't hurt any feelings.
was House Bill 696, establishing a protective order for a vulnerable adult. So they had a nice title. But-
That's
Oh, is that's the
pretty,
senior citizen confiscation?
Yes,
Yeah.
this was 100% confiscation, if I can say it. Yes, and where it is, it's RSA, which is the law, RSA 173D11. If you look that up, it says the police, not the judge, jury, anybody else, but the police have the right when they show up, go, yeah, it's a little turmoil here. We're removing all your guns without a court order.
With no court order,
Yep.
no warrant.
Nope, nothing.
Yeah.
Your guns are gone.
There goes your Second Amendment, there goes your Fourth Amendment,
Yep.
and
Well, then in the bill, there's no way really to get them back. I mean, you can petition the court, but the court at that point says, well, we don't have jurisdiction over them. Well, where do I get them? Well, the police have them. Well, they won't give them back to me. Well, that's between you and the police. But then you go to court to get them back, and the judge says, well, I don't have any authority.
The idea with these particular, these red
now,
flags.
why is that not considered a red flag law?
It is a red
Yeah,
flag.
it has
Some,
to be.
sadly, some people say it's not a red flag law,
No, that because red flag law
but it is a
is
red
now
flag
a
law.
bad word, right?
Yes.
They want to pass these without putting the label on them.
Yes,
Right?
that-
But
yeah.
that's exactly what it is. And all of these are meant, right? If they can't grab our guns today with forced confiscation, then they want to put these red flags on so that they can slowly, over time, right?
Yeah.
And eventually, there'll be enough of the population who's had them confiscated because they're elderly, right?
Yes.
And of course, the idea is that a couple decades down the road, the turnover is such that no one owns them anymore because they've all been confiscated.
Well, and what sadly is, I'm on criminal justice on the House side, there is a real, the full-pledged red flag bill in my committee retained from last year. They retained it.
Well, retain it right into
Explain
the
it.
garbage for me,
Explain
why
what
don't
retained means.
What retained is that we voted, the bill came to us, we had a big hearing on it, we argued against it, the anti-gunners, oh, we love this. So we debated back
Do
and
the
forth.
anti-gunners actually sound like that?
Yes, they do.
It's a high pitch.
Oh, it is. They're
Every
all,
time?
Yeah, they're all, I love it. They're just,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So then when it came up for a vote to bring it out onto the House floor, one of the Democrats said, well, how about if we retain it till next year? And I'm like, sweet. And what retain means is now it's sitting in the committee, not doing anything. But by next March, it has to come out of the committee. Where most states, that's what a lot of people don't understand. In most states like Vermont, Massachusetts, if the chair don't like your bill, it goes in the drawer and it dies there. That's it. Here, like my suppressor bill to allow hunters, Kidder, the chair of Fish and Game, he kept saying, John, don't put that in. I'm going to kill it. We'll see. So then he retains it for a year. And I'm like, sweet. Because what that did is it allowed me to bring more reps to the shooting range and say, this is what a suppressor sounds like. This is what a non-suppressor sounds like.
Right.
So they understood what it was.
Everybody thinks it's complete silence.
It is. That's what
Yeah.
a couple of them
Right.
said. I thought it was silence. I said, that's just movies. It's not silent. So Kidder, hung himself there because then when I get on the House, then
You don't mean that literally.
No, not literally.
Yeah, okay.
So he wanted to kill it in committee. Well, it passes out of committee. And I'm like, sweet. Gets on the House floor. He says, well, I'm just going to kill it there. It overwhelmingly passes. He says, I'll kill it in the Senate because New Hampshire Fish and Game didn't want it because they hate me. So I'm like, sweet. It gets into the Senate. Sadly, one senator was missing that day because it passed 23-0. And the reason it passed, I didn't go because the Senate don't care for me. I said, you know what, it is my bill. But so I asked James Splain or somebody else. I said, will you open the bill? The Senate don't really like me because I run my mouth a lot.
No.
Yeah. And then they scheduled it during a House session, which I have perfect attendance. I'm not ruining my perfect voting record.
Right.
So I didn't even show up for my own hearing because I'm thinking they're going to kill the bill because it has my name on it.
Right.
So James opens it up and says, you know, John couldn't make it, where he's really sorry, and he gave some excuse. But then this old guy from Vermont gets up there, and this is what I was told. They were almost in tears. The Senate was. The old guy, he puts his little grandson next to him, and he goes, if you say something, I can't hear you. I've been hunting all my life in Vermont and New Hampshire. I go back and forth. I love hunting. And I'm teaching my grandson to hunt. But we need this bill because I don't want my grandson to end up like me. Can't hear nothing. So please pass this. And they're all like, you know, and the little kids, they're really cute. And I'm like, sweet. So when it came out of committee, 23-0.
Was it even his kid, you know?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah. He probably picked him up on the side of the road or
Smuggled
something.
one of them over the border.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, so that's what it was, is, I don't know where I was going with that story, but
That's a pretty good story, though.
yeah. And Governor Hassan signed it into law.
Good.
So it was a good bill. And see, that's what, I just don't understand with anti-gunners, why they're so set on. I mean, I know why they want to take our guns. It has nothing to do with.
Well, they said it
gun.
on the House floor today. What did he say under this red flag law?
Yeah, he gets up there because I said the confiscation word several times.
Which Democrat?
Representative Cushion, the
Okay.
chair of Fish and Game. He gets up.
No,
Criminal
justice.
Criminal Justice, my
Yeah.
committee. He's the chair right now. He gets up there and he goes, well, this is a confiscation bill. Whoops.
Did he say whoops?
Well, almost.
Almost.
So that's going YouTube.
So
I'm getting the tape
he's
tomorrow.
had himself a Beto moment, right?
Oh, he
They're-
did.
They're letting spill the secrets they don't
Well,
want
that
us
was
to
the other
know.
thing, is I get up there and nobody gets it because technically you're not supposed to say anybody's name on the House floor. I was going to say Beto O'Rourke or whatever how you say his name.
Yeah.
So then somebody said, a good friend of mine said, well, maybe you should, Joe Alexander, he says, maybe you should say it this way so that way you don't get in trouble. I said, the former congressman from El Paso, Texas, and now presidential candidate wants to come and confiscate our guns. Some of the people got it, but most were like, what the hell is he talking about? And I was like, damn. So I lost my little
So wait,
punchline.
How do you have any kind of politicians in the House who can't take that reference? Are they not paying attention?
Yeah.
Well,
Both locally and nationally.
No, wait. I am willing to bet if you watch CNN, MSNBC, or National Propaganda Radio, you may not have even heard that quote.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they will broadcast things that further their agenda. They're not going to broadcast that because basically what Beto O'Rourke did is he said, yes, I want to come take your AR-15s away. But that was letting the cat out of the bag. The Democrats don't want you to know that.
Yeah.
I just have a hard time thinking that there are people who aren't paying attention, close enough attention that they can't get that reference.
Nope.
That's a hard for me to, because
Yeah,
I'm
there's
paying
a lot
attention
of them
locally
out there.
and nationally, and
Yeah,
there's
Those young kids.
and I have a day job, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's difficult to keep up with what's going on around you.
Yeah.
I think those young guys that we had on are indicative of a huge percentage of the population. Now they're only 15, so they get an excuse. Okay, the fact that they even understood about Epstein at all
Yeah.
means that they're paying some attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I
is
was
more than
impressed.
I was
Yep.
paying in 15. I not sure I knew who the president was when I was 15 because I was chasing girls and that's all I cared about. And but anyway, like they said, their impression that they had in their head was that Donald Trump had something to do with some pedophile.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're just if the news is background noise to you, then
You're just going to hear bits and
you
pieces.
that's all you're going to get. If you're paying attention, you realize, wow, that's not true. It's not even close.
Yeah.
But you have to be paying attention. So somehow we got to wake people up because that's what I posted on Facebook after those first 3 gun bills went through, were killed. Because we got a bunch of emails about that. Please,
Yeah.
support the governor's veto on X, Y, and Z. I emailed every single one of them back. It says, good news, they were all killed today. The bad news is they came up. You guys, you got to step up to the plate and get active and get involved.
Yes.
Because the fact that your rights to bear arm were contingent on how many Republicans showed up today
Yeah.
is pretty damn scary.
It is.
You should be worried.
Yep.
And you should have a list of every single one of those Democrats and never vote for one of them again.
Well, the sad thing is, or the scary part, I guess is the real word, is there's 7. From what I understand, 7 anti-gun bills already introduced, and the filing period doesn't end until this Friday. So we already have 7 anti-gun bills
We
out.
got 7 more coming.
7 more coming. So, we better support Governor Sununu on his vetoes.
Are they? Have you read them? Are they
No,
all of this nature? Background checks.
No, the
and
LSR, so they're
waiting?
just
Yeah,
basically
they're
a
just the
rough draft.
titles. Just the titles, all
Okay.
we can see. One is magazine capacities.
Here we go again with that.
Yeah, they're going to reduce
I hope
that.
they keep saying clips, though.
Yeah, clips.
That's always good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's unfortunately, I think like these young guys, I think a lot of people just hear parts of the news, draw a conclusion, and move on.
Yeah.
And there's an element that I've found that they just don't care. Oh, that doesn't affect me.
Oh, another one they did too.
But that was actually pretty cool. That was very impressive, though.
Oh, it was. I was very impressed.
because they're standing outside of the USA Chicken,
Yep.
and they asked you about your badge. You like
Yeah.
a local?
Yeah. Well, they asked me if I was local in my city. Do I work for the city?
Yeah,
And I said no. Oh, well, I thought you did because of your badge.
but that's pretty impressive because they had the tenacity to even ask,
Yeah.
The interest.
the
Yeah.
interest and the tenacity. Now,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Then I went outside while we were eating. Said, so you want to come on the show tonight? And they were kind of confused because they're teenagers. So teenagers are used to being demeaned, right? Most
Yeah.
teenagers
Yeah.
are used to, people are suspicious of them,
Yeah.
and they're not used to getting respect.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I said, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Wow. It was you could tell they were a little bit shocked. So that was pretty great.
Well, one good bill that we have to get out, not a good bill, it's a bad bill, but one bill that we have to get out there because in 2010, the Democrats doubled our registration fees on our cars. I went to every door, over 1,000 doors, and I saw probably 180 people, but on my literature I said, I will do everything I can to repeal that. And that's one of the first things we did when we got in office. The Democrats lost terribly. Well, they just tried to raise, double the city and town's fee. Right now they get $5. They raised it to $10. Plus all your other fees to register your car. So that's in here today, and we killed it. But they did it.
Yeah.
So we got to get that message out saying, hey, they just doubled your city or town fee for registering your car. They tried to.
So yeah, they tried to take a lot of your Second Amendment rights away, increase taxes.
Yep.
And we got another fight tomorrow.
Yep.
We gotta be in there at 1:00 tomorrow.
Was 10, but we were good boys and girls, so we got all of our work done today.
Yeah, so they upped it to 1:00,
Yeah.
so we get to go in at 1 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
But we get no mileage, no pay, no nothing.
no, we don't get any mileage.
No.
Why not? Is it because it's a
The Constitution
a
says.
veto day, or?
Yeah, it's veto. Now I think if the governor calls us back for a special session, I think we can get mileage, but we still don't get. Well, I think we get like $3. I think they do pay us
I got
$3.
it.
Yeah.
Take away the incentive to go back there so
Yeah.
that you don't show up,
Yep, that's what they want.
and then the veto gets
Yeah.
overridden. I get it.
Yeah.
I got to hand it to the Republicans, though. They showed up. We won by a reasonable margin, but
Well,
We-
there were
we- we
6,
can't-
7 missing, and there were 6, 7 missing of us.
yeah.
So
But we just We need people to get active, because
Yeah.
we can't keep winning by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
That's right.
Because eventually we're gonna lose. Hey, John
Yes,
Burt,
thank you.
thank you very much. Wait a second, I gotta get there. Thanks again for Jesse and Jelani for coming on the show. They were pretty great guys. And what's your name again? Something, whatever his name is. We'll
That
see you.
crazy guy to your left.
All right, we'll see you guys. Have a good weekend.